Welcome to this explainer. If you're a parent, a caregiver, or frankly just someone interested in child development, I want you to take a deep breath with me right now. We're tackling a topic today that brings just an absolute mountain of stress to dining rooms all over the world. We're talking child nutrition, picky eating, and that heavy, ever-present parental anxiety. My goal today is to help you look at your family's dinner table through a completely different, much calmer lens. Okay, let's dive into this.
Let's be totally honest with each other for a second. Have you ever looked down at your kid's plate and felt that familiar, tight knot of panic in your stomach, worrying that they just aren't eating enough variety? Listen, you are definitely not alone. It is a nearly universal struggle. We're constantly agonizing, asking ourselves, how on earth can I get them to eat a balanced diet? We strategize, we obsess, and we worry ourselves sick over it.
And usually that worry stems from menus that look incredibly stubbornly monotonous. Maybe your little one only wants pasta right now. Plain pasta, obviously. Or maybe it's yogurt every single day. Or maybe they've drawn this very firm and visible line in the sand and decided that apples are perfectly fine, but absolutely every other fruit on the planet is a mortal enemy. I mean, it's kind of funny when we talk about it now, but in the thick of it, it feels like a full-blown dietary crisis.
So let's look at where this picky eating panic actually comes from. We feel this immense modern pressure to provide a perfectly balanced, beautifully colorful plate for every single meal.
For generations, we've been told, subtly and sometimes not so subtly, that a good parent serves a wide variety of foods. If your kid isn't eating 20 different foods a week, you're failing them, right? We internalize all that pressure. But here is a massive table-flipping paradigm shift for you, because in many cases, the problem isn't the child, it's the adults. Boom! The actual roadblock to a peaceful meal isn't necessarily your child refusing broccoli. It's the anxiety of the adult serving it. We are literally projecting our complicated adult nutritional anxieties right onto a kid's perfectly natural eating habits. To really shake off some of that guilt, we need to take a quick step back and look at historical precedent. Because our modern obsession with daily dietary variety, it's incredibly recent. Look at the vast difference between our expectations today and human reality throughout time. On one hand, we have our highly stressful modern parenting culture with its complicated menus and exhausting benchmarks. On the other hand, we have historical reality, humans surviving and thriving on remarkably limited basic staples. And this brilliantly illustrates just how skewed our modern perspective has become. Throughout human history, entire populations built their lives on incredibly repetitive menus. Some communities lived almost entirely on fish and animal products. Others relied heavily on rice, day in, day out. Some survived primarily on grains or dates. And hey, even out in nature, if you look at large, healthy animals, they consume surprisingly monotonous diets. What this tells us is that while variety is absolutely pleasant, it's not actually a strict biological necessity for healthy growth. Okay, so that brings us to the real question. What do kids actually need to thrive? Let's look at the biological reality. Because the truth is way less complicated than what wellness influencers might want you to believe. A healthy diet really just comes down to a few major food groups represented over time. Animal protein, like meat, fish, eggs, or dairy, to provide essential amino acids. Vegetables, fruit, and greens or starches. That is literally it. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how simple it is. A child doesn't need to eat every vegetable under the sun to be healthy. We really need to shift our focus from the micro, worrying about every single meal, to the macro. Nutrition is a long-term process. The human body does not work meal by meal. We totally panic if a toddler refuses vegetables for a few days, but missing one serving of calcium on a Tuesday does not instantly create a deficiency on Wednesday. Kids are incredibly adaptable. Their nutrition averages out over weeks and months, not hours. Let's look at a real-world example of what we call hidden diversity. Say your child regularly eats just these few items: chicken, yogurt, potatoes, apples, and bread. To an anxious parent, that plate looks horribly beige, right? But biologically, this covers essential proteins, fats, calcium, complex carbs, and key vitamins. Even if they are flat out refusing broccoli or carrots, this limited list is already providing way more nutritional diversity than we give it credit for. Now that we've tackled the biology, let's switch gears and address the mind, the psychology of feeding. This is where our schedules, our adult habits, and our modern food as love culture really start to complicate the dinner table. Let's debunk a major myth right now: the strict feeding schedule. We act like a kid must have a snack at exactly 4 p.m., followed by a carefully measured dinner. But there's a huge difference between forcing mealtimes and actual, genuine hunger. A child who eats with real biological appetite gets far more benefit than one pressured to eat just because the clock struck 6. And what about those maddening food phases? You know exactly the ones I'm talking about. Month 1, it's rice. Month 2, rice is garbage, it's all about oatmeal. By month 3, it's pasta every single day. Believe it or not, this is completely normal. The human body has highly sophisticated biological mechanisms that drive appetite and preferences as a kid develops. It is just a phase, it's not a permanent dietary malfunction. Which leads us to this incredibly reassuring fact. Listen closely to this. If your child is growing normally, if they have energy, if they're sleeping well and thriving, these temporary food obsessions are rarely a reason for medical concern. Think about it. If they refuse carrots but they're sprinting around the playground full of energy, who is actually suffering in that scenario? Usually, it's just the parent's anxiety. So, how do we fix this? How do we go about reclaiming calm family meals? Well, if we can just let go of the micromanagement, what does actual success look like? First, we gently challenge this modern culture that treats food as a measure of love. The idea that more effort, complex ingredients, and a complicated menu means we care more. It just isn't true. True biological needs are met through overall balance, appetite, growth, sleep, and healthy habits. Feeding your child is not a daily pop quiz you have to pass with a perfect score. Ultimately, what do children actually need for long-term health? They need calm parents. They need enjoyable family meals, not daily hostage negotiations. They need positive, low-stress experiences around food, and they need boundaries without constant battles. So the crucial point is this. Healthy growth and a calm relationship with food matter far more than eating 7 different vegetables this week. I want to leave you with this final, slightly provocative thought. The next time you're about to introduce some trendy new superfood, or you start panicking about a skipped snack, or you feel a dinner table battle brewing, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, is this a genuine health concern, or is it simply my anxiety talking? Very often, the honest answer to that question changes absolutely everything. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and here is to much calmer, happier meals for you and your family.